Topping today's news, the new legal year officially begins. The ceremony to honor Sir Lyndon Pinling and the role he played in the majority rule turns into an awkward occasion that grabbed headlines. A former F&M cabinet minister being questioned by police, and Roots Junkanoo Group not happy with the Junkanoo judging system. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jarino Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us. The opening of the legal year here in the Bahamas returned to its former glory with all of the pomp and pageantry within the legal fraternity, gathering this morning on Parliament Street downtown, dressed in courtroom regalia as they marched to Christ Church Cathedral, George Street, for the official church service. The service was followed by an inspection of the guard by new Chief Justice Ian Winder. But it was during the church service in his charge to the fraternity that the Very Reverend Harry Bain, Dean and Rector of Christ Church Cathedral, called for the justice system to function at its optimum and challenged the men and women of the legal fraternity to do the same.
I've not come today to preach the blame game. It is not for me to play the role of judge and jury. Mine is the task to give you the word and the teachings of the ultimate judge and juror, the maker of heaven and earth. Gathered here this morning are no doubt some of our nation's finest. Many of you dared to dream and were determined to become law students. And so you have exercised the discipline and acumen to become advocates and brilliant legal minds. We can see and know of your qualifications, marked by your wigs and gowns and titles placed before and after your names. Be reminded this day that way beyond what you wear on the outside, the true judge and juror, God Almighty, is more interested in the intrinsic happenings of your inside.
Reverend Bain believes that for the judicial system to do its work efficiently and in a timely manner, all stakeholders must do their part with dispatch. In the last 2 years, the opening of the legal year was significantly scaled back, and in 2022, the proceedings were conducted virtually due to the COVID-19 pandemic. 2021, the traditional opening was held in Parliament and Rawson Square. Now, due to the ongoing renovations to the main Supreme Court building, the opening of the legal year saw a mock courtroom setting in the Compass Ballroom of the Point at Margaritaville. It was here that the members of the judiciary, judicial officers, and members of the bar gathered to hear from the Attorney General, Chief Justice, and President of the Bahamas Bar Association. Some harsh criticism for the Progressive Liberal Party as the widow of the party's former leader and father of the nation, former Prime Minister Sir Lyndon Pinling, Dame Marguerite Pinling, addressed the gathering at the mausoleum of Sir Lyndon to commemorate the 56 years since majority rule. Dame Marguerite, who was also a former Governor General, accused the PLP of using Sir Lyndon's memory and legacy as a stepping stone. Her remarks also followed being overlooked while protocol was being established at the start of the ceremony.
Pray for me, please, because I'm feeling very something today. I don't like what I see, because nothing happened until Pinling came on the scene. And I thank you for coming out today, but the leadership was so excited, they forgot I existed. But I just want to let you know I'm alive, doing well, have sound mind, and in good health, and waiting for all that is going to take place, because I do not like it, and I'm sorry, Mr. Mitchell. I'm sorry, I cannot contain it any longer, because you're using this as a stepping stone, and I do not appreciate it.
After giving a brief history of the role she and her husband played in majority rule, Lady Pinling demanded an apology.
We still love Finland, you know.
I should hope so.
We do love it.
Because we're standing on his shoulders and the other man who fought with him in the trenches. Then the House of Assembly was dissolved in 1966. Pindling was in London fighting the PLP's battle. When nomination day came, Pindling wasn't even in the country to be nominated. I had documents prepared in case the magistrate decided not to accept his name in his absence. And I was ready with Cecil Wallace Whitfield, who's the then chairman of this party, who took me down to South Andros. But thanks be to God, the magistrate said it was okay, they would accept him in his absence. And I come here today in respect out of the work that my husband has done, along with his other fellow workers in this country. And I don't want anyone to use this to play him cheap, because I will not stand for it. I'm sorry, Mr. Prime Minister, I promise you I was going to behave. But I think you all should know who I am by now. And you owe me an apology, and I expect, Mr. Chairman, right now.
Returning to the podium after Lady Pindling had taken her seat, PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell had this to say.
So Dame Marguerite Pindling and all of you who have come today. Dame Marguerite, a new generation of Bahamians are here today who were not here a year ago, who were not here when this momentous occasion took place. And if any apology is due, it's due because of the goodness of our heart. It's due because we wanted to pay tribute to your husband.
Yes, sir.
And it's due because we wanted to move with a quick pace to ensure that that memory is etched in the minds and the collective history of our country.
Yes, sir. Come on.
No disrespect to you.
That's right.
We all are here to support you today. You remember when it was just you and I standing up here alone in this graveyard. It makes a difference to be in government. And our Prime Minister led us to a victory. So we are here in government today, 1 year later, much better off than we were a year ago.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I thank you for allowing this ceremony to go forward, and know that in our hearts, we love you. We support you.
Neither Prime Minister Philip Davis nor his deputy Chester Cooper addressed the matter when they gave remarks during the ceremony. Prime Minister Davis only thanked Dame Marguerite, adding that the PLP appreciates her presence. As for the Pindling family, this is not the first time that they have spoken out against the PLP. In the lead-up to the general elections last year, Monique Pindling went on record to say that she was denied a nomination to run for the PLP, as the leadership told her that they did not want a Pindling on the PLP ticket. Prior to the wreath-laying ceremony at Sir Lyndon Pindling's mausoleum, Bahamians across the country began to pray for the Reverend Dr. C.B. Moss, who is presently in intensive care at the doctor's hospital after he collapsed on Tuesday during an ecumenical service at St. Agnes Anglican Church commemorating the 56th anniversary of majority rule. The service had just begun when Reverend Dr. Moss, who was a part of the procession of religious leaders, collapsed. He was attended by Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Dowell and then taken to hospital by emergency medical service personnel. There was a prayer service held for Reverend Moss today at his church, Mount Olive Baptist Church on Meadow Street in Baintown. That said, the government released 4 stamps on Monday to commemorate 56 years of majority rule, a 15-cent stamp featuring a distinguished group including Governor Sir Ralph Gray, Arthur Hanna, former Governor General Sir Cecil Wallace Whitfield, Sir Milo Butler, Sir Clement T. Maynard, Clarence Bain, Sir Randolph Fox, Sir Lyndon Pindling, Jeffrey Thompson, Curtis McMillan, Warren Lavarity, and Carlton Francis. The 50-cent stamp depicting the Senate building, a 65-cent stamp featuring the Mace of Parliament, and a 70-cent stamp of Bahamians, both males and females, protesting the right for women to vote. Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernanda confirming to reporters today that the former Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, Lanisha Roll, and her husband are being questioned by police.
Yes, at this time they are being questioned. They came into custody yesterday. They were released pending last night to return this morning. So at this hour, I believe they are still speaking to investigators at this time. Well, I can't say exactly what the officers put to them, but you know what was circling in the media. They are speaking to them at this time.
Roll is reportedly currently under investigation due to several allegations that came up during her tenure as youth minister. The ministry was locked down by then Prime Minister Dr. Hewitt Minnis for an audit of the National Sports Authority, which fell under her ministry. Auditor General Terence Bastian revealed that unauthorized contracts had been issued, some of which were later forwarded to the NSA for payment. 3 checks to contractors were also found, which were paid to individuals, then collected by a senior ministry official. And finally, in this segment, an industrial agreement was signed between the Airport, Airline, and Allied Workers Union and the government in what has been years in the making under different government administrations. This 3-year agreement, which expires June 2025, comes after ongoing negotiations between the two factions, with AAAWU taking industrial action during the process as well. Chairman of the Airport Authority, Paul Bevins, emphasizes that they are in harmony with the union and it was never their intention to be at odds. He says now that the agreement is settled, they may focus on developing new airports which contribute to a larger plan.
Because once we do that, we have a comfortable travel experience for not only the locals but for our international visitors. And so that's our next focus now that this is done, that we will be able to go down and focus on the airports. Just this morning driving here, you hear complaints about certain things that need to be done at the airport. We've been distracted over the past few months. So we thank the public for being patient with us also, because we know that the airports are not up to par. And so now we can concentrate on those airports. We believe at the Airport Authority and the board, we talk about it every month, that once we develop our airports and be able to do the right things at the airport and build new airports, we would attract additional aircrafts, additional airlift, I should say, to our islands, our beautiful islands. Additional airlift will bring additional passengers, increase the number of beds, so we'll fill those beds, and then with those persons coming back will become second home owners. Some of them will become investors in the Bahamas. So,
speaking on behalf of the AAAWU, President of the Bahamas Public Service Union, BPSU, Kimsley Ferguson, agrees with Mr. Bevins, noting that the process to reaching an agreement was challenging but not rewarding. He explained what some of those outstanding issues were.
As indicated, we know that there are hazards associated with almost every job that you have. Being the initial persons that are seen and in a COVID-19 environment, as well as working in an environment where we know that there are components or there are things that can cause or jeopardize the health and safety of particular persons. Those are some of the justifications that we want to present in relation to hazard pay. We would have done that, and for some reason we were unsuccessful, and we'll continue to agitate in that particular regard.
The previous industrial agreement expired in 2015. Managing Director of the Airport Authority, Peter Rutherford, says while both sides had to make concessions, there was a satisfying outcome in the end.
I think the signing of this agreement is a demonstration of both stewardship and partnership. I'll say each side did not get everything what they wanted, but I think this represents a banner day where all sides can come together and come to an agreeable position on what has taken place. The Airport Authority and our partners, we represent the first and last impression for all arriving and departing passengers. So it is incumbent that we make sure that we have an environment where our teams and our team members are comfortable.
Mr. Rutherford revealed that outside the industrial agreement, there has been over 80 promotions within the Security Department, 73 promotions with team members throughout the Family Islands, and more than 30 promoted in other Family Island negotiations as well. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.